All right. Make It Mobile Hackathon. Today we are going to have Barbara talk to us about porting existing Ethereum apps onto Celo, which is fabulous. During this time, if you do have any type of questions, go ahead and throw it in the Q&A section in the chat. I'll be monitoring that section, and we'll be stopping periodically to have Barbara answer some of the questions. If not, feel free to continue to discuss what's going on in the chat, and that's always an option for you as well. We're going to take just a couple more minutes, like a minute or two, just to let everyone come in and get settled. But yeah, we're looking forward to getting ready to start. All right. So Barbara, do you want to go ahead and get started and take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Gloria. Happy to be here. I'm really excited to talk to everyone about this, and we'll also do a little bit of live coding. So cross your fingers, everything works as planned. It's always risky, but we like to live dangerously. So yeah, so as Gloria mentioned, my name is Barbara. I work at Celo. I'm currently the lead for the developer experience engineering team, and so get to work on all these, making sure that the tools and documentation and everything is ready for everyone who wants to develop on Celo. And so we want to make sure that all of the developers are enabled and they're able to get the help that they need and the tools work as expected. So if you have any questions, issues, please always reach out to us on Discord or on GitHub. We value your feedback and we want to hear from you guys. So just a little bit of background about me. Before joining Celo, I worked at a company called Sumo. I was one of the co-founders there. We worked on cross-chain interoperability, which was really great because it gave me the chance to work on many different chains and also be part of the crypto ecosystem. So I've been in crypto for about, I think 5 years now. And it's had a really great time. It's been a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to be working on Celo and just working towards the mission that I have. And on a personal note, you can see here that this is my dog, Ulrich. He's a 2-year-old German Shepherd, and we also have another dog. His name's Dietrich. I haven't updated this photo, and I need to get both of them in there, and he's 6 months old. So if you hear some crazy barking, that is them trying to be involved in this presentation. So, let's forget how to use the next slide. Okay, so today we're going to focus on, how do we move from Ethereum onto Celo? How can we use the things that we've already built and then migrate them over? I'll talk a little bit about why you might want to do that and the process between that. We'll do some live coding in terms of migrating the smart contracts, and then talk about the options of how you want to migrate your UI. So again, with Celo, it's a permissionless platform, and it makes financial tools accessible to anyone with a mobile phone. And I just wanted to bring that up again because this is, it's a big focus to make it mobile hackathon. And probably one of the biggest reasons why you might want to move over from Ethereum to the Celo blockchain. It's so that you can be, building applications and everything that are more financially inclusive. And Celo is a global payments infrastructure built for mobile. That's the big key part of all of this. So you might have a really great Ethereum application, but probably most likely it was built for a desktop browser, which is awesome, and which is that takes advantage of skills as a web developer and everything. But it does tend to limit the outreach of your application. If your application is browser-based, and built for like a desktop browser, then that means your audience needs to have a desktop browser to view it, right? And maybe it works okay on mobile, but to really take advantage of, the Celo blockchain and this mobile movement, this moving to like a native mobile application, native mobile app. And so with that in mind, Ethereum isn't necessarily the best choice for mobile development. And so there's a couple like things that limit what you can do, just because of the way that Ethereum works. So why build on Celo? There's a great Medium article, like if you just Google why build on Celo, and if you want to read that more in depth, I'm just going to kind of summarize some of these points. So one of the reasons is that like gas prices are affordable. Rising gas prices on blockchain is a familiar theme. I think the current gas prices on Ethereum range between like $3 to $8, around that range. And so while this is pretty competitive when you compare it to the cost of like a traditional wire transfer between banks, which is between like US $20 to $40, that's still like a really good price. But $3 or $8 to send smaller everyday transactions is not feasible. And so it limits the type of applications that you can build and like the users that you can get. Maybe if we're buying a car or like a house, like an $8 transaction fee, that's fine. But I can't buy coffee, and I can't buy, I don't want to send like $5 to my friends because it's going to cost me $5 to do that. So in order to move decentralized payment processing into everyday life, it needs to be affordable to send small amounts of money. The other thing on Ethereum, so there's a plethora of tokens and applications, but gas has to be paid in ETH. And so this is just how it was designed. But what this means is that you're paying for transactions with a fluctuating currency. So, if Ethereum prices drop one day and they move, that's why there's a huge range for gas prices. And when you're trying to make payments on such a volatile asset, it makes it very hard to determine how much it costs to use something. And so this is going to be a huge limitation when trying to attract users to your application. I think most people are familiar with the famous Bitcoin pizza story where someone paid like 10,000 Bitcoin for a pizza because it was only worth like half a cent or something. And then now that pizza is like $240 million. We don't want to, pay for things that might cost an absurd amount later on. So this ability to pay for transactions in a stable currency is another reason why Celo it can be a good choice for this. Because you know that if you pay a transaction costs 5 cents today and you paid for that in a stable currency, it's going to cost 5 cents tomorrow. The other thing is that you can choose, you can also choose to pay if you want with a native currency. And along with the stable currency that we talked about here, like USD, we're also planning to add more stable assets. So right now, Celo is working to launch Euro, because people should be able to pay for transactions in their native currencies. And if you want to follow along with the Euro release process, you can do that by looking at our GitHub, ZenHub board on GitHub. And you can follow along with the releases if that's something that you're curious about. The other reason why is because Celo maps complicated hex addresses to phone numbers. So you can take this like really complicated, I can't highlight this, this really complicated long hex string, and it can map to something that is familiar to your users, like a phone number. And so like, I don't know about you guys, but how many times have you struggled to confirm that the address you're sending funds to is actually the address that you mean to like give to somebody? And so Josh, in the previous session on Wednesday, he talked a little bit about Otis, the oblivious decentralized identity service, that makes this whole magic happen. So if that's something you're curious about, there's some really good guides kind of about that, and like if you want to dive into the code. But the like long story short is that it makes addresses easier to see, and the more we can make like the UI easier for our users, the better experience is going to be. The other another reason is like block times confirm within seconds. So waiting minutes to confirm a transaction is less than ideal, especially when you're wanting to do things quick. Like if you pay for some coffee, you don't want to have to wait like 5 minutes to confirm that this happened. Again, this is still like really good. Like I think when we look at the history of like traditional banks, like if you have to send funds between accounts, it can take 2 to 3 business days, which means if you do it like over the weekend, it can take 4 to 5 days. So minutes is still really good when we look at that, but we can still be better. And while like the block times for like Bitcoin and Ethereum, those to be measured in minutes, we want to like get faster than that. And Celo blockchain times can be confirmed within seconds. And the cadence is pretty normal, and there's not much variability because it's a proof of stake blockchain. So the other reason, again, just like touching on the mobile bit, is because Celo was built for mobile. That was its like entire kind of like guiding principle. Because when you build something, you often have to make design choices, and you can't optimize for everything. And so when Celo was being built and like continues to be built, mobile like specific protocol, that's always at the top of mind. So that's kind of the reason why these features exist and why they are a part of the Celo protocol. So you have these stable value currencies. You don't have to worry about price volatility. You can pay in multiple currencies. And mobile identity, so it's easy to find other people, as well as like fast syncing on mobile devices. So just to recap kind of the benefits here, the gas price, gas currency, addresses, average block time, and then the design. As a quick said, one of our developers recently migrated from E to Celo, and he said it was the fastest deployment ever. Celo is 60,000 times cheaper than Ethereum. I haven't checked this math, but it is a lot cheaper. So it's exciting to see people have like tried this, and it is a lot cheaper than deploying. Just kind of a word with that. If people have or have not deployed contracts on Ethereum, it can be quite expensive depending on the complexity of the contract. It can range from hundreds to thousands of dollars, even depending on gas prices and the complication of the contract. So I don't want it to be like we're like ragging on Ethereum. Like Ethereum is fantastic, right? Celo is built. It has shared ancestry with Ethereum, and so we're able to take advantage of a lot of that. Celo wouldn't be here without everything that the Ethereum community has done and continues to do. But we just have different goals. But luckily, because they have shared similar tools, languages, and concepts, we can reuse a lot of the stuff. We don't have to like learn entirely these languages and paradigms in terms of deploying our smart contracts. So a lot of these tools and everything Josh talked about. And so I think it would be, if you haven't had a chance to watch that session, I really encourage you to watch that. And that will give you a much better idea of all the different tools and the things that you can use to build. But if you haven't, just really quickly, Josh talked about this like DApp architecture, how you have your client UI, you have your smart contracts and your blockchain, you have a wallet, and just this kind of general architectural flow. And the key bits here with like Web3, so moving from Ethereum to Celo, is that the tooling between like how do we connect these pieces is still going to remain relatively the same. It's just going to be like a little bit different. So maybe a good analogy for this is like nails versus screws. It's the same function. They're very, very similar, but they are slightly different. And so we might need to make a couple adjustments to use one or the other. Again, so this is the tool stack and a comparison of like, here's the Ethereum tool and the Celo tool that we're going to use. A lot of these are similar to each other. We don't have to change too much, but just something to be aware of. And we'll look at most of these today. So just really quickly with Contract Kit, because we will be doing some coding with Contract Kit, I just want to do like quick refresher what it is. It's essentially like a wrapper around the Web3 object, and it allows us to interact with the nodes JSON RPC API and like send transactions and interact with contracts. It gives us a simple interface to the core Celo protocol contracts, and it lets us interface and like sign transactions, as well as access things like the on-chain identifier for a phone number. So again, just want to reiterate, like since Celo is a fork of the Go Ethereum code base, that means that your signature schemes, pre-compiled, and truffle tools you're used to are going to work more or less like out of the box. There's going to be some adjustment to the truffle config, but you won't need to redo your smart contracts, which is really great because your smart contracts is like the business logic of your DApp. It's like the meat of it. And so writing permanent state, it's like a weighty task, and rewriting that logic is less than ideal. So we don't have to rewrite it. In order to port your Ethereum contracts or any Ethereum contracts, right? Maybe there's an Ethereum smart contract that you want to use on Celo blockchain. You can port that over too. It doesn't really have to be yours. And so quick kind of like step-by-step that we'll have to go through. First thing, we have to create an account on Celo, right? We can't use our Ethereum accounts because while the accounts look similar, they're not the same. We use a slightly different derivation path. And so if you try to send Celo to Ethereum wallet or Ethereum to Celo, it's not going to work. Or it might work, but you're not going to be able to use your funds. They're not compatible. So this is why you need to create like a new account on Celo. We'll go through that, doing that on the Celo CLI. You can also use it like making it with a ledger. Then we have to get some monies. So we're going to deploy onto the AlphaForce testnet. So we need to get some testnet funds. Then we'll need to update our truffle config to point to the AlphaForce network. Then this part should look really normal. We're going to run the migration, and then we can see our smart contracts deployed on Celo. Part of this slide didn't load. Okay, show anyway. Oh, it didn't like my photo. So you can't see this. I don't know where it went. But this showed a basic truffle config, which just kind of had like the networks object and then the development object. Don't worry about that, didn't show up, because we'll do some coding and that will pop up. And I'm going to guess this didn't work either. So this was just a slide to show an overview of what it was going to look like for the update, and also any changes that we had to make. So I'm going to actually try to reload this entire thing, because the next series of slides does use this. So give me one sec. Let's try this again.
Barbara, while you're trying to get that to load, do you mind answering some questions?
Sure.
Too? Okay, cool. There's a question from Blythe, and she says, if I have a closed ecosystem, would it be better to build on Celo rather than using Valora?
Sure. So that's a good question. So I guess I'll clarify the difference between the two. So Celo would be like the blockchain, right? So that would be equivalent to Ethereum. And Valora is, I'd say, equivalent to like MetaMask. So Valora is a wallet that it's that is compatible with the Celo blockchain. So it kind of depends, like what your question is. The choice would be, I guess, so you can build on Celo and you can choose which wallet you would like your users to interact with. Valora is a little bit easier in the sense of if people have this, they can, they don't need to download another wallet. But then it does mean that you do need to like interact on the mobile side. So it kind of depends, but they're not exclusive, I should say. So you can build on Celo and use Valora, but you can build on Celo and not use Valora. Kind of depends on what you want to do. Yes, so Valora wallet is open source. I can pull that up for you here. So I think my presentation just killed itself because for some reason, none of these like things are loading. So no big deal. We'll just skip that part because that was kind of like a preview of what to expect. So let me present this. Oh no, spinning wheel of death. Nothing wants to work today. That's fine. I would say, oh, it's not Monday, but it is Friday. So Aloha Friday. Everything is checked out. Okay, so let's make this bigger. And the wallet code for Valora is actually just right here. It is a little bit difficult to find, I can tell, because it's not called Valora, it's just called wallet. But I will drop this link in here for you. So that is open source. Did that pop in the right place? There we go. So I just dropped that into the chat. Let's see. In the Celo blockchain, are there opportunities for product designers, developers to their skills for blockchain? Yes, definitely. UI and like UX is a huge pain point, I would say. There needs to be, we need people to think about that, right? This is an entirely new paradigm for people. Like, let's think back on credit cards, for example. When credit cards were first introduced, it was a very clunky experience. I don't know if anyone's ever worked in like retail using this, but you used to have to make carbon copies of the credit cards. So you would like put the credit card on this like contraption thing, and you would essentially like use pressure to imprint the numbers onto a carbon copy so that you could then run that later on. And this is like not a very good experience. Or like checks, for example, you have to like write everything out. And over time, we found ways to like reduce that friction, where now, we just have, if you have like a tap kind of like credit card with the chip, you can go to the store, and when you pay by credit card, you can just like tap your card and it processes. But we have to think that that was a number of years before we went from this like, here's my credit card and please like make a copy of it, and maybe the like transaction will happen and I'll find out later. And so we've gotten a long way, and so we're kind of in the middle of that too. So how can we like make better UI? How can we make better user experiences to reduce the friction? So yeah, definitely opportunities there. I think some of the best hackathon teams actually would be where you have really like a full stack team, right? And full stack, not just in terms of engineering, but that includes designing. And that's actually one of the tenets of Celo. So if we go, I don't know if anyone has the opportunity to look at this. I think it's right. Let's see here. I just have to I'll just Google it this way. Oh, whoops. Not tenths. 10. sometimes you never know with these like things. So one of the tenets is, so yeah, developers, designers, streamers, and this is what we care about. It's designing for all. And part of that is making sure that the UI UX is accessible. And like striving for beauty, and like beautiful people want to use beautiful things. You can't ever underestimate like the value of pretty. This is one thing I would say, like it doesn't really matter a lot of times how cool the tech is underneath. If your application is not usable, it doesn't really matter, because no one's going to use it. So yes, definitely lots of opportunities. And I think that, yeah, again, those make really good hackathon teams, because not only will you have like a really cool DApp, but it's also going to look really great and it's going to feel good for users. Okay, cool.
Barbara, before you go on, I think the last question that someone had was just about the links, like to watch any of the workshops.
Oh, sure.
And I just wanted to say, like, we always tweet out, this is going on our YouTube channel, on the Get Coin Media YouTube channel. We always tweet that out and share it in Town Square, but you can always just go back to the channel and watch this later. So if you have to, that's totally fine.
Yeah. For sure. And so I just put my handle, Twitter handle in the chat. Barbara Liao, pretty much Barbara Liao everywhere, like on GitHub, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. No one really has that name, so I took it. Okay.
I do the same thing. I thought like I was that. That's great. Yay.
Nope. Easy. To be honest, I do want to get just Barbara, but there's someone who has it. So, oh man, I'm trying to get that. Okay. I don't know what happened to my slides. So we'll just skip all that and let's migrate a contract. That'll be more fun than me trying to remember what I wrote on my slides. So let's present this guy. Dang it. Just kidding. I clicked the wrong button. Let's present this guy. Alrighty. So, is that big enough? If this is not big enough, just drop a line in the chat and I'll make it bigger. I try to make it not too big, otherwise it won't fit on my screen. So, if you have ever done any of the truffle like tutorials, this is where this code comes from. This is the pet shop tutorial. And I wanted to choose a project that people might be familiar with, just because I thought it'd be fun. So I have gone ahead and done the first part of that tutorial. I will drop this link in the chat if anyone would like to see it. This is just like a very basic like smart contract, contract application, and it just allows you to like adopt a pet and like assign it to somebody. So if you were to follow along with the tutorial, it would tell you to make this as Solidity file, the adoption contract. It just has has one type adopter. It says an array of addresses. It has an adopt function and it has a get adopters function. Super simple. And then you would make the deploy script, and then you would have your truffle config. So that's like the very basic one, right? So let's say we'd like have this DApp that we built. How do we get it onto Celo? So the first thing we want to do, oops. Where's all my things? Okay, so the first thing we want to do, I mentioned in the slide, is first let's create a Celo account, right? Because we need to be able to put stuff. We need to be able to like have an account to deploy our contract. So with that, there's a couple of different ways to create an account. Since we're just doing like a testing environment, we're going to use the Celo CLI to do that. But like if you want to, it's less secure. I'll preface that with that. And so if you create an account, let's say like on a ledger, it's probably the best one because then your private keys are on there. But you can create it on the command line. So if you don't have, let's like, can I close this? Nope. So if you don't have the Celo CLI, you can install that with npm i-g @celo CLI. And I already have it. It does take a little bit to download, so I'm not going to do that again. But I do have it. And if we type in Celo CLI, it's going to give us a couple different things that we can do. One of the things that we can do is like interact with account. So the way that we create a new account is going to go Celo CLI, account new. If you were to do this for real, you should not do it on screen because it will display your mnemonic and your private key. So I want to preface, you should not do this for real accounts. Oh, sorry. Before we do that, we want to make sure that we are connected to like the testnet. So we're going to be going on Alpha and the way we do that is because we can point the Celo CLI to either point to like a local instance, to a testnet, either one that we deploy ourselves, or we can use the hosted one that CLabs has called Forno, or we point it to mainnet, right? So the way that we see this is we do Celo CLI config :get, and that's going to show us what we're connected to. And so here we can see the node that we are pointing to is Alpha Horus Forno node, and then our gas currency is auto. That's fine. So we can go ahead and do Celo CLI account new. This is going to generate a new account. So you can see here, so it popped up. So we have our mnemonic if we need to rebuild our account. I think, where'd my little thing go? And it has our account address, the private key, public key, and the address. Again, same thing. So again, you do not want to do this in public, like where people could see it, but for now, this is fine. And so we're going to like use this again. So we'll scroll back up to this later. So once we create our account, let's put some money in it. So we're going to grab the account address, and then we're going to go to the faucet. Oh, this is, okay, this could be a little bit annoying. I'm going to try to figure out like a better way to do this because I'm going to be switching back and forth with the browser, and I want to make sure you guys can see what's happening. Okay, so we'll just present the whole screen. This guy here. Okay, so we can get some funds. So the Celo testnet faucet is through that link in the chat. So all we need to do is put our address into the input field here, say I'm not a robot, do the CAPTCHA, traffic lights. I'm always really bad at these. Hopefully I can verify not a robot. Oh, I made a mistake. Now I can grab the contract address. Now I can send it to the actual address. And take a second. So the way that we can check this is, again, we can use the Celo CLI, or we can use the Block Scout Explorer. So we can take our account address. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So there's more space. Oh, this is not working. That's fine. So we want to make sure that we are connected to Alpha Horus. We don't want to be like on mainnet or Baklava. It's another testnet, primarily for validators. So Alpha Horus is the developer testnet. And then we can put our address in. We can search and we can see that I now have a balance. And the transactions that happened, we can see that happened 53 seconds ago, 59 seconds ago. About a minute, I got some Celo and I got some CUSD. So that's, you can check it there. You can also check it using the Celo CLI. So you can do that with Celo CLI, account balance, and then we put in our account and that will pop up that we have some Celo and CUSD. Cool. So a couple ways that you can see that you have a balance. So now that we have money in there, we can update our Celo, we can update our truffle config to point to Alpha Horus. So in my slides that did not appear, all different adjustments. So if you remember, we talked about contract kit and how that needed to be, it wraps Web3. And the reason why is the transactions, Celo transactions are a little bit different. We have 3 extra fields. And so we needed to account for those. And so that's why contract kit wraps Web3. But a lot of the same like kind of RPC endpoints and everything you would use similarly. So that's why, so instead of instantiating a Web3 instance, we're going to use contract kit to connect to a wallet and all that stuff. So to pull this up, so I'm gonna need to pull up another file. So while I'm doing that, does anyone have any questions so far?
Yeah, so there is a question up in the Q&A.
Oh, in the Q&A.
It says,
okay.
Hi, Barbara. I'd like to know about reward voter validators elections. Thanks.
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's a little bit out of scope for this talk, but if you want to find out more about that, we do have the Celo forum, as well as some documentation on our docs website. So you just go to like docs.celo.org, and on the sidebar, there's a section for validators. And then if you want to follow along with that, we also have the Celo Signal mailing list, and that goes out pretty regularly, and you know, for like validators and elections and everything. And then we also have the CIP and CGP, so Celo improvement proposals and Celo government proposals, the repo for that. So you can follow along with any proposals that are in the works or have been done. So yeah, that's a totally like, it's a huge topic. So we won't cover it here. And there's also some Celo tech talks that you can find on YouTube. And maybe, I think if Josh is there, yeah, sweet, Josh, awesome. Him drop some of those links in for us. Okay, is that my computer?
Yeah, so check the chats. Josh has been dropping the links in the chats for us.
This thing is broken. Why is it not working? Okay. Sorry, one sec. I'm gonna like restart this again. I think my computer has died. Oh my gosh, why? Okay, try one different thing. So I love doing live coding stuff, but sometimes you run this risk of things not working, but that's fine. So we can troubleshoot.
I actually think that there's a lot of people who like decide not to give talks because they're worried about live coding. It's really helpful to see people somewhat struggle through live coding because it shows
Oh
you
yeah.
how to fix it when you get to the same spot, but also that
I
it's
know.
perfectly normal and you should just still give the talk anyways.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let me tell you, you're totally right. I make a lot of mistakes, so this is fine. Like it's really cool. And you know, I'm not just a machine. I do have to like make a lot of mistakes. So
I think that's
okay.
what to remember as like people when they're starting off and new, like they
Mm-hmm.
get down on themselves for making a mistake. But, you know, Barbara's been in this industry for a while and she still, you know, sometimes struggles and the struggle is just human. So like be kind on yourself. And
Yeah, and look, you can always blame it on the computer. It's like it's not your fault. It's the computer. It deleted my slides, got rid of my cool stuff that I made, and now it's like not opening some of my windows. I don't know why. So okay, we'll try it again. See if it'll work. Okay, hopefully I gave people a chance too for following along to create an account and get some monies. Alrighty, so with this, so now that we have some monies, we've got our account, we need to update our truffle config. So if you've deployed to different networks before, you have to point to a provider, right? So you need to like, who is your current provider? So we're going to do that right now. So one thing we'll need to do is we need to have contract kit, and then we need to have a wallet. And we're going to use a local wallet. So these are two packages that we're going to install. And so we'll want to install them. So we'll do that with npmi dash, let's make sure we save it so that if you know someone installs this later, they know that this is a dependency. So npmi dash save, it's going to be at Celo and then contract kit. And then we also want the local wallet. So Celo does have several wallets for you to choose from. So while that's running, you see the fastest tab. Not there. Where are you at? So if you have not looked at the Celo monorepo before, oh my God, it's so big. You can see all the different things in packages. And under SDK, there are a lot of different wallets that you can choose to use. You can use HSM wallets, there's Ledger, there's a local, you can use a remote, RPC, and coming soon, Wallet Connect. This is still a little bit like work in progress, but if that's something you're curious about, feel free to check it out. So we have to, where'd you go? Oh, still going. So while those are installing, we can go ahead and start using them. So we're going to need contract kit. So const contract kit equals, we're going to require Celo contract kit. And then we're going to need our wallet. And so we'll just call that, pull up the local wallet, and we'll require that. And if you remember, we made our account, right? And in order to like add that account to our wallet, we do need to get the private key. And so what we're going to store that in a .n file, and that's like another package we'll install after this. But this is what you'll see. So what this is doing is that allows you to have a .env file. You can put your private variables in there, and then it's going to be able to pull from that file. And so let's go ahead and make one of those. So we're going to want to create a .env file. Let's go ahead and we'll open that. So come back. I recently am also like changing some hotkeys and I forgot what I changed them to. So they don't work anymore. Find it. Where did you go? Oh, did we make it on the other side? Where did we make it? Oh, there it is, right here. So we need to stash our private key, and we'll stash that in there. That way, so remember, .env should make sure you add this. You're like your git ignore if you choose to do it this way, so that you don't accidentally upload this. This is the thing that allows you to spend and like say that you own this account. So you want to make sure that you keep that private. And the way that we would access this is the same way that you would access like a process.env constant. So we'll say Celo account private key equals process.env.Celo account private key. And so what that's going to do, it's going to, because we have this .n, which we should install, -save .n. Because we have that now, it's going to be able to, it's going to see this, it's going to say, oh, when I see process.env, I'm going to look for a .n file and I'm going to pull this variable from there. So now that we have all that kind of set up, let's make sure that we have a variable to say, like, where are we pointing this to? What node are we going to, what network? Where's this network? So I'm going to call it, since we're connecting to Alpha Horus, we'll call it Alpha Horus. We're going to use the Forno node. It's a hosted node, so we don't have to run our own. And then the URL for that. This is located in our documentation. You can also just make this a variable if you want. And so you can require that in here. And we'll just type it out. So it's just alphahorus-forno.celo-testnet.org. And so that's kind of like the base setup. So let's create an instance of our wallet. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. I'm kind of doing a little bit long form so you can kind of see all the different pieces. So now we have a wallet, we have our node that we need to point to, and now we can create an instance of the kit. So we'll do contract kit.new kit. And again, this is a wrapper around Web3, and this allows us to use the account for the changes on the Celo blockchain. So we pass through our address that we're going to point to for our node, and then we're going to pass through our wallet. And so now what we need to do is we need to be able to get the add the account to our wallet. So we're going to make this an async function. And we're just going to call it await wrapper. We can call it something else if we want, but really all this is going to do is it's going to add the account, and then it's going to set a default account. And actually we'll do this first. So we'll do kit add account, and we pass through the private key. And then in our truffle config, we need to create a new object, a new property here. And we're going to call it the name of the network that we're going to deploy to. It needs to have, we set the provider. And this is why we needed the contract kit, because we need to be able to point to the provider that's been instantiated. So we access that with kit.connection.web3.current-provider. We set the network ID. This is in the documentation as well, but the Alpha Horus network ID is 44787. And if we don't set a default account with Truffle, Truffle's defaults for this, like basically it's like, what account am I going to deploy this contract from? We need to have, if you don't have a default account, you need to set the account here. So this is where we would like take our address and we could put it in here. If we didn't want to have that, like let's say maybe we just don't want to have that either like exposed or hard coded in, we can replace this line if we set the default here. So we can do that by just saying like set the default account. And what we'll do is like we'll call our local wallet and the get account method. And because we only have the one, we're going to pull that it's like the first one, right? So it index 0. So some of these are going to look familiar, right? Like if Web3, there's like the Web3 .eth get accounts. And really all we're doing is using slightly different methods here, but it's all going to look fairly similar. And then if all went well, let's see what happens. So first, let's go ahead and let's compile just to see if that worked. So we're going to run our truffle compile command as we would if we were building on Ethereum. What broke? Oh, let's see here. What do you not like? Oh, I can't spell. Type error, contractkit.net kit. Okay, it should be new kit. New kit. Compile. Let's see. Ideally, you should have test. So you don't, oh, silly. Have to call it. So you have to call the function. So do I have to await? Await my await wrapper. Oh, that's another thing. Forgot. I'm gonna make sure these match. I think when I wrote this, I for some reason put 7.4. We'll do this. Let's see if that works now. Guys, half the development is just trying stuff and looking at the, oh yeah, well, I don't know why I put that away there. Just like trying things and reading the errors and seeing what happens. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, okay, cool. It's working. Yay. So contracts compiled. So now that our contracts are compiled, we can go ahead and migrate it to the network. We technically didn't really need to like compile because the migrate would compile if it wasn't, but sometimes I just like to run it to make sure it works. So we're going to truffle migrate. The difference between this and like other deployments is you're going to specify which network you want to use. And so that is saying like which one of these. Yeah, exactly, Alexis. It's exactly what this is. Is it? Oh yeah. So also I can't remember, is it network or networks? Didn't get much sleep, so we'll see. I'm like a try it and see if it works. I also like to look at docs too, but sometimes trying it is faster. I think it's network. It might be networks. Okay, cool. It was network. So you can see here that started the migration. It's pointing out for Horace. Then we have the network ID here. It's deploying it. We got a transaction hash. This is a little bit weird to see that it does say ETH because we are using the truffle framework, but it's not ETH. It's pulling your Celo. So deployed here, we can see our 2 migration scripts running. The deploy contracts, it deployed our adoption contract, and it went cool. So what we can do now is let's go ahead and look and see that on the Explorer. So let's actually, I forgot what my address was. I'll grab the address. Let's go to Block Explorer. Let's throw it in. Oh, we're already there. That's so remember that previously we only had the two, right? Because we had the transfers where we saw the Celo and the CUSD from the faucet come in. But now we have this new transaction that shows that we created a contract and the contract creation was successful. It cost us this much Celo, which I think Celo is maybe around like $4 now. So not very many dollars because it's 0.003 Celo. And yeah, so now our contract is deployed on there. We can use Truffle Develop to go into the Truffle Develop console. Did I type it right? Oh, I think I was supposed to say like Truffle console. Oops. Nope, I want to Truffle console. Oh, I'm not running it. I'll do that. We can do that later. So I was hoping to show you the contract and everything, but just in the interest of time, you can play around with that. But we can see that we deployed our contract. It's on Alpha Horas, and like you can interact with it. And so now the question is, you're like, sweet, I've like, let's say you have a full DApp. What do you do with your UI and UX? So that's kind of up to you to decide like how far down the mobile rabbit hole do you want to go. If you decide to convert your browser-based application to mobile, it is a little bit more legwork because you're basically going from, you have to change your entire UI, or you can say browser and make a few adjustments, like updating your Web3 pointers to use Contract Kit, and then updating which wallet you point to. Because again, Celo is not compatible with Ethereum accounts, so you can't use an Ethereum wallet. There's a couple of projects right now that are, looking at like forks of MetaMask. There is some browser-based wallets like Celo Wallet. There's the Celo Tools GitHub that you can check out that has a couple different tools here if you want to stay like browser-based. Maybe you have a React app. Alex, one of our engineers, he built Use Contract Kit, which allows you to use Contract Kit in your React applications. And so there's a lot of different tools for you to like continue to develop that. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out on Discord, Twitter, and then of course, like if you haven't joined the Celo tribe, please make sure to go ahead and do that. So this is separate from like the hackathon. You can join the hackathon and not have join the tribe, but please make sure you follow the tribe. So you would just go to Gitcoin, to celo-org and click the follow button here. And yeah, I'd love to stay connected. If you have any questions, again, please reach out. And I'm really excited to see what everyone builds during the hackathon. So and then we're at time. I don't know if there's any last minute questions.
So I will give people a moment to add questions to the Q&A if there's any last minute ones, but right now I don't see any. So let's see if they have any. And while we're taking that moment, I will just let you all know that the next Celo workshop is happening on the 17th of March, and we are going to have Patrick Barron from Moolah Money and Ian from Uniswap, and they're going to be talking about accelerating the movement to mobile first DeFi. So it should be a great talk. That's going to be at 8 a.m. PST on March 17th, and we'll be announcing that always in Town Square during the hackathon and on the Discord channels as well. So just keep an eye out for that invite. Let me check the Q&A one more time. It looks like all of that is answered right now. So Barbara, thank you so much for the workshop. It was really, really informative, and it was really fun to watch. And I appreciate you taking the time to inform us of everything and taking time out of your day to show us it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Looking forward to this, and yeah, hope to talk to you guys soon.
Awesome, great. All right, we'll talk to you all soon.
Okay, bye.